What's up, everybody? Lou from Hypocritic here on the show floor at PAX West 2025, and we are back with Patrick from Buffalo to talk about their brand new, just announced game, Birdseed VR. Thanks so much for taking some more time.
Thanks for talking to me again.
Tell us about Birdseed VR.
Yeah, so Birdseed VR is a bird watching game. It's very cozy, and it's a little bit like Pokemon Snap, but more of an emphasis on unlocking additional equipment and these really, really ridiculously cute birds with cute animations and as well. Another big part of it is multiplayer, just the option to kind of hang out with your friends and chat while you're doing some lighthearted activities. Yeah.
And a lot to dig into with its unique concept. So let's start at the beginning, like we tend to do sometimes. Where did this kind of initial concept come from? How did you start to get the idea off the ground? Where did it all start?
Yeah, so this particular project had a few different inspirations. At Buffalo, we're kind of obsessed with nature and music, or audio, sorry, more specifically, I'd say. So bird watching is kind of a great combination of both. I don't know if you know much about bird watching, but a lot of the ways you do bird watching is you start by listening by sound. They call it birding by sound. So we thought it would be a really cool idea of like making a more kind of focused, slower paced version of Pokemon Snap. The real heart of the idea, though, originally kind of came from me thinking about my high school days and how I used to be into photography a lot. And it's so much different than what you see with digital cameras and phones these days because you had a limited number of film. So the fact that you only had X amount of shots, 24 shots that you could take on one piece of film, made you really think about, taking time and waiting for a shot, and it made it a lot more intentional. And I thought that was something that's missing from games like Pokemon Snap and other games kind of in that domain as well. I'd say the other thing, sorry, I'm just going to keep on talking. The other thing that we really wanted to communicate is how interesting birds are. When you see birds in other games, they're usually kind of boring and just have simple animations or simple sounds. But if you watch birds in real life, they've got all these very unique behaviors, specific not to each bird species, but also unique birds as well. The way they move. It's just like really interesting animations where they do things like that, and we wanted to capture that and just make it as lovable and cute as possible. Yeah.
And I think that all does come through in the world design, which is very soft and approachable and cozy, and builds what I think we were talking about earlier, that sort of shared space experience with the multiplayer features you're going for, in terms of creating a place where people can just sit down and hang out with their friends and watch some birds and take some pictures. You did notice a sort of we noticed that intentionality of the experience where you only have so many pictures per day that you can take, right? Not in-game days, but actual real-life days. And balancing those elements where you want to spend time with people in this shared space and enjoy the game together, but you maybe only have a finite number of things you can do while you're there. Yeah. So when you're building that very intentional shared space experience, how are you going about finding the right balance and making that stick for people in an immersive kind of VR environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are using, sorry, I'm trying not to get too technical, but basically drip feed content unlocking is kind of the key to this in terms of just having a lot more birds that can become available over time, but not just birds, also bird behavior. So one day you might see a certain bird doing just like regular pecking, but then the next day they're singing or dancing and you get extra points for doing that. Another big part of it was equipment as well. We thought, especially in VR, something I'd never seen a photo game do is allow you to change lenses. And like something about just switching lenses, even just the physical motion of changing lenses on a camera. You didn't get to experience it in this demo, but it's so rad. I wanted to include it. But like switching it and suddenly being able to zoom further, but also being limited by the fact that now it's like way too far. So now you have to think about which lens you actually have. Makes it really interesting. So there's a little bit of inspiration from Dredge there, I think, as well. But yeah, it's just one of the big things about this game that we haven't talked about yet is that it's free to play. It's kind of designed to be maybe a daily habit or a weekly habit that you kind of go in, maybe have a friend that you chat with once a week or a few times a week, and just gives you a space to do that talking with a light activity as well. So yeah.
And that's such an interesting combination as well, where you see, obviously, it seems like every game under the sun has a photo mode now, but doesn't have that intentionality of, like you said, swapping lenses or having to consider distance and limits to that. At the same time, you see a lot of, let's say, free-to-play or games of that type that have specific come back every day and do things activities, missions you have to complete, dailies, whatever. So again, mixing all of that together in what is, again, a very intentionally focused experience sounds interesting. How much, if any, was the project inspired by some of those, I don't want to say trends, but inclusions and more common features in other games? And then maybe, can you talk about some of the challenges you've already seen or some of the interesting things in trying to make that work in this cozy context?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So free to play, like why did we even go that route a little bit? Well, a lot of the VR market is actually children who just don't have access to a lot of money. So for us, it was really important to make something that was accessible and appropriate for them, but also maybe adults as well, and kind of be able to monetize through like things like skins for the cameras as well. We call the camera, it's our hero piece. It's cool to collect different cameras. We even have like a retro camera over there that I think Nick brought as well. The other part of it too is like, I'm not a free-to-play gamer. I don't play mobile games really. So I've had to, reach out to some of my team members and friends who kind of work in that industry to kind of find the right balance of stickiness, which fits really well with the theme we've discovered, but also just like making a game that doesn't feel dirty as well. Yeah.
That's all fair, and I think. Looping back to one other bit I found interesting, we talk about audio and we talk about how important it is to the studio and to your previous title, Fresh Tracks that's out on the market now. The immersiveness of VR is obviously what sells all of these experiences. Audio is a major component of that, especially with a nature-based experience, digital nature like this. Working within those constraints then and trying to explore those opportunities, everything you learned from Fresh Tracks, the natural passion for audio within the studio, can you talk a little bit more about your approach to making not just the visuals, but what you hear immersive and convincing for people?
Yeah, it was a kind of interesting process. Early on, I was trying to decide, do we make a game with fictional birds where we can just kind of create sounds, or do we need to use real bird sounds? Because I knew it was going to be like the major limiting factor of this game. It's like, how many bird sounds are out there in the world, and how many different types of birds as well. Eventually, we did a lot of research and were able to find some libraries that are public and available to use for commercial titles. And that was kind of one of the original things we had to do before we could even start making it kind of the way we wanted to make it. So for us, this is not designed to be like a pure simulation or super educational game, but it's definitely got a little bit of that as well. So we thought it would just be so cool to, do what birders actually do and really put this emphasis on, when you do bird watching, birds are actually really difficult to find. Like I do this all the time. I take a walk in the woods with my dog pretty much every day, and I'm just like, where's that freaking bird? I can't see it, but I can hear it. So hearing is how you identify what's around you. And once you know what's around you, you have a better idea of what to look for. It's like, oh, it's this size, this is how it moves. It's usually up in the canopy, or it's usually down on the ground. And then obviously spatial audio, like in VR, just being able to hear, like, oh, it's actually over there. Did you notice that happening when you played it all? You're like, oh, it's over there.
Yeah, you have to kind of track it in space and go find it.
Yeah. So one thing that's not quite in this early demo, this is like literally the first thing we're showing anywhere, is I want more of an emphasis on having some time when the birds appear audio first before visually. So you kind of have an idea of what might appear that day, but you don't know when it might appear, And the better you get at that sort of thing, like there's going to be kind of a deeper element of gameplay for people who want that, or you could just keep it casual and it could be, simple, cozy photo game with cute birds.
So you have that flexibility and that balance, which is fun. Now, building upon your previous experience, again, Fresh Tracks now out in the marketplace, an entire game under your belt start to finish.
Yeah.
Taking those learnings into every element of Birdseed VR, from the visuals to the audio design to the development pipeline.
Yeah.
What specific lessons are you taking from the development of Fresh Tracks that you're applying to Birdseed VR?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a direct lesson exactly, but we're a pretty big team for an indie studio. We're about 20 people or so we work on multiple projects simultaneously. Fresh Tracks is definitely a big project with a lot of team members. We wanted to make something a little bit more agile while we work on our other unreleased bigger title that will come out. So our core team that works on it all the time is pretty small, but we'll borrow team members from our other departments, pretty often as well. So we get that, polish from the other different departments. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to make something that, felt a little bit, simpler, but also compelling simultaneously as well. Like Fresh Tracks, the biggest learning from Fresh Tracks is very difficult to explain to people the value of why it's a good game worth playing. When you look at it and you're not familiar with it all, you haven't played through it at all, you're like, all right, so it's like Subway Surfer, or you're like, all right, it's like Beat Saber, but not in VR, which is kind of weird already. And like, you really kind of have to play Fresh Tracks for about 30 minutes to an hour before, maybe even 2 hours before it all kind of like really clicks, I think. Whereas like Birdseed, it's just like, got it, all right. I see why this is good.
It is. It is a lot more immediate, and you see that even in the demo where you are just picking up the camera and going right away.
Yeah.
So that is all good to hear. Now, obviously, a long road ahead for this one. I'm assuming just announcing it, getting it out in front of players for the very first time here at PAX.
Yep.
If people at home want to learn more about this and dig in a little deeper, how can they do that?
Yeah, so they can wish list it. And I don't know if this QR code will work at this fidelity, but you can go to Birdseed VR, and that will let you know that it's definitely going to be on Oculus Quest. It will probably be on Steam VR as well, so you can wish list there as well. And maybe other exciting places in the future. And who knows, maybe it might be playable sooner than you think, but yeah.
That is just vague enough. A little teaser at the end. Patrick from Buffalo, thanks so much. Keep it tuned here to Hypocritic for more from PAX West all weekend long. Cozy.